Her grandmother squinted at me like I was a stain on the wall no one had gotten around to scrubbing off. "So this is the man she chose," she said, slow and deliberate, like she was tasting the words. I smiled. Not wide, just enough to disarm the room. The air went still. Sophie didn't say a word. Her jaw tightened, but she didn't correct her. No defense, no playful rebuke. She just looked down at her wine glass, spinning the stem with the tips of her fingers like she couldn't wait for this dinner to end. The silence stretched. Then came the clinks of cutlery. Her brother cleared his throat and changed the subject. Sports, something safe. But the message was clear. I was tolerated, not welcomed. I played my part. I answered questions about work with polite restraint. I passed the dishes. I made jokes when it was expected. But inside, I wasn't analyzing the food. I was analyzing the people. Especially him. Ethan. Her cousin. Grandma's favorite. The perfect grandson she never shut up about. He had that Wall Street shine. Crisp collar, effortless grin. Fake humility that only convinced the people who wanted to believe it. He dominated every conversation without sounding like he was trying to. Name-dropped hedge funds and Ivy League contacts. Made sure everyone knew he was flying out to Geneva on Monday for a very quiet, very exclusive meeting. He didn't even look at me directly until dessert. "You said you work in tech?" he asked, casually, like he forgot he already knew. "Yeah," I said. "Consulting. Systems, integration." He nodded like that meant nothing. Lot of instability in that sector lately. Tough market. I shrugged. "Unless you're good at what you do." His grin slipped for a fraction of a second. Then came the nod. "Fair enough." Sophie stayed quiet through most of it. That wasn't like her. She was sharp, fiery, one of the things I loved about her. But here, around them, she was muted. Smaller. Like she knew she had to shrink to fit the family mold. The tension didn't fully break until people started leaving the table. Coats were grabbed, hugs exchanged, and Grandma was helped upstairs by the housekeeper. That's when Ethan pulled me aside. "She has a type, you know," he said, drink in hand, voice lowered like we were conspirators. "Fixer-uppers. Men she can mold. But it never lasts." I didn't react. Just let him talk. "You seem all right," he went on. "But don't take it personally if things fizzle out. She gets bored easily." I didn't blink. "Thanks for the advice." He smiled again, smug, already walking away. "Anytime." We left soon after. The car ride back was quiet. Sophie stared out the window, arms folded. I didn't push, but I didn't forget either. 3 days later, I made a call to a friend who owed me a favor. Corporate investigations, discreet and fast. I gave him Ethan's full name and the firm he claimed to work for. A week later, I had everything. Ethan wasn't just arrogant. He was a fraud. His hedge fund was a shell. His Geneva meeting? Fabricated. The SEC had an open investigation into his last startup, securities fraud, insider trading, misuse of investor funds. He'd burned through family money and was now selling air to rich retirees dumb enough to believe his pitch deck. But I didn't drop the bomb right away. Timing was everything. 2 weekends later, we were invited back, a small family brunch. I knew the guest list before we walked in. Grandma, Sophie, Ethan, a few others. I wore a black jacket, dark shirt, clean-shaven, confident. Sophie looked at me differently that morning, a hint of confusion in her eyes. She didn't know what had changed, but she could feel it. Brunch was cordial at first. Mimosas, muffins, small talk. Then Grandma brought up Ethan's upcoming trip. "Geneva, wasn't it?" she asked proudly. "Such international class. You should really learn from him," she added, looking straight at me. That's when I decided. I placed my glass down, turned to Grandma, and smiled. Same smile I'd worn the first time. "I actually looked into Ethan's firm," I said calmly. "Interesting setup. The address is just a UPS mailbox. The company isn't registered with the SEC, and the last one he founded is being investigated for fraud." The room went silent. Sophie sat up straighter. Her mouth opened slightly, then shut. Grandma blinked, confused. "What are you talking about?" I turned to Ethan. "You want to correct me?" His face drained. That's not how it works." I pulled out my phone. "Would you like to explain the wire transfers from your uncle's account to that fake IPO you pushed last year? Or the lawsuit filed by that retired couple in Tampa?" He stood up. "You're bluffing." I slid the phone across the table. "I'm really not." He didn't touch it, just stormed out. Grandma looked after him, stunned. Sophie stared at me like she was seeing me for the first time. I picked up my mimosa again. Calm. Final. Next time someone questions her choice, they should know who they're talking to. And I drank. The silence after Ethan left wasn't just awkward, it was loaded. Grandma's hand trembled slightly as she reached for her water. Sophie didn't speak. Not yet. I could feel the questions brewing in her, the slow turning of gears. Brunch ended early. Polite goodbyes, nervous glances. We drove back in silence again, but this time, the air was heavier. As soon as we walked through the door, Sophie turned to me. What the hell was that? I sat down, took off my jacket calm. You saw what it was. You ambushed him. I exposed him. She crossed her arms. You had no right. He was lying to your entire family. You think I'd let that go? That wasn't your call to make. I stood up. No, it became my call the second he pulled me aside and warned me you'd get bored. That I was just your latest charity case. She flinched. He said that. I nodded. Word for word. Her shoulders dropped. The fight started to fade. He's always been like that. Arrogant. But you went nuclear. I walked to her slowly. I didn't start anything, Sophie. I just stopped pretending. She didn't reply. She just walked to the bedroom and closed the door behind her. I didn't follow. That week, her family went quiet. No messages. No calls. Just radio silence. The kind you get when people are trying to figure out how deep the damage goes. Then on Thursday, Grandma called. I picked up. You did this to embarrass him, she said without greeting. And us. No, I replied. I did it to protect Sophie from someone you kept putting on a pedestal. A pause. Then, cold, I don't want to see you in this family again. I hung up without a word. Sophie found out about the call later that night. I didn't tell her, Grandma did. A long message, full of disappointment, manipulation dressed as concern. She read it twice, then handed me the phone. I don't know what to say, she whispered. You don't have to say anything, I told her. But you do have to decide. Her eyes searched mine. Decide what? If you want to keep living under their illusion or start living in the truth. She didn't answer, just went to bed early. I slept on the couch. That weekend, Ethan's mess exploded. News broke about the pending charges. SEC investigations. Lawsuits piling up. One of the victims, a woman in her 70s, went public with her story. The press ate it up. I didn't say, I told you so. I didn't need to. Sophie watched it all unfold in silence. Her phone buzzed constantly. Relatives asking what she knew, what she thought, whether she was still with the man who lit the match. She didn't reply to any of them. Then Sunday morning, she walked into the living room, eyes puffy, hair a mess. I don't think I can do this, she said. I nodded. Do what? Choose between you and them. They're my family. I looked at her for a long time. Then I said, I'm not asking you to choose. I'm asking you to see them clearly. Tears welled up. You don't understand. You're not one of us. No, I said. I never was. I was the outsider they tolerated. Until I spoke the truth. She sat down across from me, wiping her eyes. You made them look like fools. They made themselves look like fools. I just stopped protecting them. The next words out of her mouth were quiet, almost a whisper. Did you know? About Ethan? Before all this? I met her gaze. I started digging the moment he disrespected you. Another long pause. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Because I wanted to be sure. I knew you wouldn't believe me if I wasn't. She broke then. Not loud, not dramatic. Just a quiet collapse into herself. The slow unraveling of a woman raised to believe loyalty to blood meant silence at any cost. I didn't comfort her. This wasn't a moment for sympathy. It was a reckoning. I need to think, she said finally, standing. I nodded once. Take all the time you need. She packed a bag that afternoon and went to stay with a friend. I didn't ask who. Didn't ask when she'd be back. I just watched her leave. When the door closed, I opened my laptop and pulled up a folder I hadn't touched in months. Inside, screenshots, bank records, real estate contracts, trust fund documents, all tying Ethan's fraud to 3 other names. Names I'd seen mentioned in passing at that brunch. The web was bigger than I thought. This wasn't just about family drama anymore. It was financial crime. And Ethan wasn't acting alone. I spent the next week in silence. Sophie didn't reach out. I didn't chase her. I used the quiet to dig deeper. Ethan had been sloppy. The shell companies weren't clean. I traced the payments through LLCs registered in Delaware and Nevada, classic hiding spots. But one transfer caught my eye. $250,000 wired to a consulting firm linked to Grandma's estate trust. I cross-checked the date. 2 weeks before Ethan's last fundraiser. That's when I knew. She wasn't just blind. She was involved. I printed everything, labeled every page, highlighted every transfer. When I was done, I mailed a copy to the family's lawyer. Anonymously. 3 days later, it hit the news. Grandma's estate under audit. Fraud investigation expanded. Multiple accounts frozen. Public record requests started pulling up documents that no one thought would ever see daylight. That night, Sophie called. Her voice was tight. You did this. I uncovered it, I said. They did the rest. You could have told me. You weren't ready. She didn't argue, just breathed into the phone. They're saying Grandma's accounts were used for laundering. They're not wrong. Silence. Then, softly. How much of this did you know before that brunch? I paused. All of it. She let out a breath like a gut punch. So the whole time, you were just what? Playing us? No. I was protecting you, whether you wanted it or not. Another pause. I don't know if I should be grateful or furious. You can be both. She laughed once, bitter. You didn't come into this family. You dissected it. No, I said. I survived it. There was nothing else to say. She hung up. Weeks passed. Charges were filed. Ethan pled not guilty, but everyone knew it was a formality. Grandma disappeared from the public eye. The family fractured. Cousins, uncles, all trying to distance themselves from the fallout. Sophie showed up at my door one night. No bag, no tears. I lost everything, she said. I opened the door wider. No, you lost the illusion. She walked in, sat on the edge of the couch like it wasn't home anymore. You planned all of this, didn't you? I planned to defend myself. The rest happened because the truth doesn't rot quietly. She looked at me for a long time. Do you still love me? She asked. I didn't answer right away. I don't love the version of you that stayed silent while they tore me down, I said. But I might love the version that finally sees the difference between blood and loyalty. She nodded once. That's fair. We didn't get back together. That chapter closed the night she left. But we kept in touch, not as lovers, but as two people who survived the same storm from different sides of the lightning. Months later, I was invited to speak at a private tech summit. Same city, same crowd, same velvet smiles. I wore the same black jacket. After the panel, a man came up to me. Older, sharp suit, sharper eyes. Heard you're the one who took down the Winslow Trust scandal. I just smiled. That's what they say. He offered a card. We could use someone like you. I looked at it. Gold embossed, international firm. Real power. I don't break systems, I said. I just make sure they collapse when they're built on lies. He laughed. That's exactly why we need you. I never saw Ethan again. Last I heard, he cut a deal. Testified. Gave up names. Avoided prison, but lost everything else. As for Grandma, her accounts were seized. Her reputation? Dust. Sophie rebuilt her life in another state. We talk once a year. No bitterness. Just distance. People ask me why I kept pushing, why I didn't just walk away. Because people like Ethan, like that family, they count on silence. They rely on politeness, on shame, on the assumption that no one will ever turn the light on. But I did. I didn't rage. I didn't destroy. I revealed. And the moment truth walks into a room full of lies, it doesn't need to raise its voice. It just needs to stand there and smile.